Now, for all the Nintendo simps in the back that are just clicking on the video to dislike it, the Nintendo Switch is going to be, the Switch 2 is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, video game console launches of all time. It's going to be a hot ticket item for a little while. I'm just worried about the long-term prospects of this console. I, too, have a lot of fond memories of Nintendo. The Super Nintendo is still the best console ever with the best library of games, full stop. It is still, as somebody who has been around for all of it, like, it's head and shoulders for every single genre. It's head and shoulders above everything else. And just for, posterity's sake, top 3, I would probably put Xbox 360, PS3 right underneath that, and then probably PS2. Yeah, probably PS2. PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. I don't really think that much about PS1, PS1 and N64, Saturn era. I'm gonna go ahead and lump all of those in there. I think that those have aged like milk on a radiator and were overrated at the time. But yeah, I'm not just an out-and-out Nintendo hater. I want them to succeed. I've just seen them rest on their laurels for way too long, get way too egotistical recently. And yeah, all of this stuff really came to head at the beginning of April with the reveal of the Switch 2 with the $500 price tag. Or the $550 if you want Mario Kart World in there. Okay, if you don't want to pay $80, bro, it's such a good deal, bro. It's going to be fine. You only pay $50, bro, if you get the digital version. Which we can go ahead and if you decide, you want to get a little bit too spicy with if you want to start modding it or anything like that, we can totally break your console. It's fine, though. You'd only pay $50 for something that you can use at the whims of Nintendo at their discretion. Don't worry about it. And if you want a proper controller for it, you only have to shell out $90 for a pro controller. Like, okay, cool. You continue to lick the bag of a company that disrespects your wallet so brazenly. But no, the reason that everything was so expensive is because of those incoming tariffs. Which ones specifically? All right, the ones that Trump talked about. Not the ones that he implemented, because you can't actually point to those. But no, he talked about tariffs, so therefore the Nintendo Switch is more expensive until you take a look at what Nintendo themselves have said. Nintendo confirms the Switch 2 pricing not affected by Trump's tariffs. Oh, shit. Well, there goes that talking point. It's not going to stop it from circulating around because there's a lot of smooth brains that are out there, but hey, man, we might as well just get the facts out there while we can. But warns future policy changes could increase costs. Yeah, exactly, because as long as all of this stuff keeps on selling, they can continue to turn up the heat just a little bit because Nintendo, they really, man, this really is harkening back to the Wii to the Wii U transition period. In putting to bed one of the most vocal lines of discourse surrounding the upcoming console, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa, has confirmed that the chaos of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs attempts, had zero effect on the somewhat high asking price for the Switch 2 console, which I've talked about this before, and honestly, like, $500 for that console, yeah, it's underperforming, yeah, it's equivalent to something that came out in 2013. It's performing about as well as a PlayStation 4, for Christ's sakes, which is unforgivable 12 years after the release of that console, and try to sell it for $500, but I don't really think that that's a make or break price point for that. It's just everything else. It's the $80 games. It's the egregious pricing on all of the accessories that I have a big problem with. Though he admits it could change in the future. Yeah, exactly. Because you take a look at Xbox, which we're not gonna like improve the Series X or S. We're just gonna go ahead and raise the prices like $80 or $100 because we can, I guess. As previously reported, following the reveal of that Nintendo would be charging $80 for Mario Kart World. But bro, I'm gonna get like 1,000 hours out of this, bro. It's totally worth it, bro. $70 for Donkey Kong Bonanza and $450 for the base Switch 2 itself. A roughly $150 bump, not adjusted for inflation from the original launch day price tag of the original, right? Yes, players quickly began questioning whether or not those prices would be reflective of the specific tariffs proposed by Trump against China and Vietnam, both of which host various factories that play a role in producing the hardware. But now the tariff, like the only one that I seen go in place was with China. And at this point in time, the tariffs are back down because guess what? They ended up reaching a deal. It's almost like all of that tariff jargon was all about bringing people to the table to negotiate. Kind of strange how that happened. Pressed at the time by Washington Post Gene Park Boo for clarification as to whether or not this was the case. Nintendo of American president, yes, Doug DEI Bowser declined to speak directly to the tariffs on the console pricing itself, but did note the Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. These higher asking prices were representative of the company's new turn towards variable pricing. Yeah, no, see, we could charge you a lot or we could charge you even more. Pray we don't go further. We'll look at each game. Really look at the development that's gone into the game, the breadth and depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time, and the repeatability of gameplay experiences. Yeah, that's hilarious, right? Because all of the simps that are going, no, it's fine, bro. I could pay $80 for Mario Kart World because I'm gonna get such value out of that. Cool. You're gonna pay $80 for something, and then you're gonna have to buy more DLC over the top of that. Really good value you're getting right there. Okay, and then yeah, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, that's going to be coming over. That, yeah, you're going to get the Yuffie DLC. Well, that was the intermission DLC. Forget specifically what it's costing, but yeah, no, you get a game that's like 50 hours of gameplay. I like, okay, it completely and totally gets undone by the leaps and bounds when it comes to gameplay, character work, world building that you get with Rebirth. But yeah, Intergrade, I really got to go back and play it, even though I've been very much immersed in it. Time of recording, and probably over the weekend, I might get a little bit closer to the end, but it's still not going to be anywhere close. But yeah, I'm really starting to get to Gongaga again because they've had a bit of a problem. Ended up soft locking. I tried to get a little bit too experimental, but I digress. God damn it, Rebirth is fantastic. But now that I'm at the point in the story where things are really starting to pick up, it's just reminding me just how amazing that game is. Not like I ever forgot it, but it's just every once in a while you just really need to get it refreshed in your mind. But yeah, Intergrade, okay, it's also going to be coming to Switch 2, a game that first released in 2020, and the DLC that released in, was that 21? I think it was 21. What's the price point on that? Because yeah, okay, yeah, you're getting good value. You're getting, you know, even if you just meander about, and maybe if you want to play through the very good hard mode, I highly recommend getting through the game and then playing through it again on hard mode, because it's an exceptional experience that really flushes out and allows you to delve through the specifics of the gameplay. Those battle mechanics that were made by Teruyuki Endo, the guy who made Monster Hunter as great as it is, okay? Like, he came over and he worked a blinder even for the first game. But what's going to be the pricing on that? Because on Steam you can go ahead and get the phenomenal version of it, and it'll run on very modest hardware. Like, it'll go on sale and you can probably get a bundle with Rebirth for what they're likely to charge you for the Switch 2 version. Oh, but I can take Intergrade on the go with my Switch 2. Okay, cool. So you can go ahead and play the game at what, 720 FPS and maybe 720p, 30 FPS. Or if you want to get a Steam Deck, you can go ahead and just absolutely max that shit out. But don't worry about it. No, hey man, it's going to be fantastic however you want to play it. Hosting an investor Q&A session. But yeah, how much is it going to cost? How much are you going to cost for a game that is ostensibly 4 or 5 years old, if you want to factor in the DLC? Hosting an investor Q&A session at the end of the company's recent 2025 fiscal year earnings call. The Nintendo president was met with multiple questions regarding the actual and potential effects of Trump's tariff threats on the Switch 2's production. First asked as to whether the possibility of either the tariffs or the recession in the United States had prompted the company's modest prediction that the Switch 2 would move just 15 million units in fiscal year 2026. Oh, really? Furukawa explained. We set this figure with the aim of reaching the same level of sales we achieved with the Switch in a roughly 10-month period between the launch in March of 2017 and December of that year. And then that leads us to, yeah, the fact that the Switch 2 forecast falls flat as Nintendo admits the high price tag could hurt sales. Oh shit, it's almost like now they're saying the quiet parts out loud that I and a lot of other people have been talking about. What's the long-term viability of this console? Even Nintendo knows, yeah, we're just trying to grab the bag while it's available to us. Big shock, huh? The Japanese video game company is signaling a more cautious outlook of its next console generation in a newly published English translation of the end-of-year financial Q&A. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa, directly addressed by the company, has set the 15 million unit sales target for the Nintendo Switch 2's first fiscal year, a figure that has raised eyebrows among investors and fans alike. No, I thought they were building off of the success of the third best-selling console. That's weird. And despite the high pre-order interest in the United States and Japan, along with global anticipation for the successor of the best-selling Switch, Nintendo's forecast is only marginally higher than the original Switch's 2017 launch numbers. Yeah, because here's the thing, man. Like, you're gonna have all of those Nintendo simps get out there and buy their shit day one. This happens with every Nintendo console. It's just, I got the Wii U that Boxing Day, and that shit was on the shelf. You could get the, what was that, the 8 gig base model, the white one, or you could get the one that I got, the deluxe, what is it, 32 gigabyte black model, and all them shits was just sitting there. This was no Wii situation where, what was it, a couple years later, and I was working at a Best Buy at that time as the media manager. So yeah, I was very much entrenched with everybody calling in, do you got the Wii? Do you got the Wii? No, but we got a lot of copies of Wii Music. Would you like to go ahead and go with that? In anticipation of potentially getting a Wii system. That was a wild time, man. I miss those days. Anyways, Switch 2 is priced relatively high compared to the Nintendo Switch, so we recognize that there are corresponding challenges to early adoption. While the company aims to replicate the success of the original Switch's launch, Nintendo appears to be aware the higher price tag may pose a barrier to casual gamers and budget-conscious families, a demographic that was key to the original system's runaway success. These are exactly the talking points. See, nothing ever changes, okay? Nothing ever really happens. These are the same talking points that I seen during the Wii U's launch. Yeah, but it has better performance. It can finally get to 1080p. It's so great. And you take a look at the Switch 2. Oh, in docked mode, it can get 4K. And it can cap out at 120 or 144 FPS in mobile mode. Yeah, I'm sure every one of those games is going to be able to play at such a smooth frame rate. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to be lucky to play games at 1080p 60 on the go. I fucking guarantee it. Even 3, 4, 5 years down the road. That FromSoft exclusive game, you are going to beg for the performance that you get on Bloodborne on base PS4 specs. That shit is gonna suck a dump truck full of dicks when you get it in your hands. It's gonna be hilarious. Anyways, to counteract this, Nintendo is budgeting key titles like Mario Kart World with the bundling, right? Yeah, with the console and emphasizing continuity through backwards, capability, right? The Switch 2 can play is compatible with Switch software, so there's a continuity between platforms. Yeah, we're not gonna produce any like new games exclusive to the Switch 2. We still want to cannibalize, all the popularity that the other console has. So what's the impetus of buying a new console if you just are trying to shill all of the old stuff? This is the same thing that happened under very different circumstances with, the PlayStation 5 when you had to move over from PS4 to PS5. It was a long time, and it kind of led to, this languishing period for the PS5 that it has no games because everything that they were releasing also had a PS4 copy with it. God of War Ragnarok, that overrated Horizon shit, Forbidden West, yeah, you can get all that shit on PS4, and now you can get it all on PC, so what's the point? The point of getting a PS5? Unless, of course, you're just a sycophant like me and needed to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but you could at least get one secondhand and not contribute to Sony because go to hell. Now with Nintendo, they're price gouging you, and they're not really offering anything new that you haven't experienced before and on the Switch. So as Furukawa noted that yes, sustaining momentum will be the biggest challenge. If you weren't ready to launch your console, why did you do it now? That's going to be the biggest question. And yeah, maybe they'll shatter all of their expectations. Maybe I'll be totally wrong. Maybe the Switch 2 will be a gigantic success. It's just for everything that Nintendo is pushing with elevated prices, with anti-consumer practices, like changing all of their physical game carts to digital downloads. Ostensibly, you still get some of the game, but you have to download the rest of it in order to play it. Minuscule storage space on the console, underpowered, under-delivering, but overpriced. I don't like what they're doing right here. So if they got to take a big fat fucking L with the Switch 2, and they have to get another black eye for another console, then so be it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.